curious, analytical tone. A runaway train is hurtling down a track. 5 people are strapped to the rails ahead. You stand at a lever. If you pull it, the train diverts to a sidetrack, killing only 1 person. If you do nothing, the 5 die. We are taught to view this as a calculation in life-saving. For decades, global leadership has relied on this money-in-the-air logic. It treats human beings as numbers on a spreadsheet, removed from the history, the soil, and the individual weight of real lives. We label this approach efficiency. It operates on the assumption that a 5-to-1 ratio is the only logical way to govern. We see the cost of this logic when global supply chains, optimized for just-in-time math, fail to account for local resilience. When the spreadsheet ignores the human friction on the ground, the system loses its functional integrity. This is how global systems begin to show their cracks. Approaching leadership as a set of variables to be balanced, rather than a reality to be faced, is the first fatal error of the global elite. This flowchart illustrates a rigged game. The trolley problem is a coercive mechanism, a psychological trap designed to force a no-win scenario where every choice is a version of failure. When a global power forces a smaller nation into a binary choice, they want you to argue over which track to take. If you are focused on the lever, you won't notice that your sovereign agency has already been stolen by whoever disabled the brakes. True leadership requires ignoring the lever. You step back and audit the architecture of the interface itself. Ancient systemic wisdom offers a high-resolution alternative. The Dharma-Karma framework doesn't look for a logical trick to make a death free. It demands absolute responsibility. A leader has systemic authority. Their duty requires them to pull the lever if the role demands it, but they must also carry the internal debt of that decision. There is no exit that keeps the soul clean. Even when saving the many, the loss of the one creates an entropy debt. It is a cost that eventually demands payment. In a karmic system, there are no free moves. This debt manifests later as a logical rupture, a crisis where the leader's integrity is tested again, under even greater pressure. Real leadership is the courage to do what is required, while having the humility to accept the consequences that follow. By 2029, these concepts will move from theory to survival. Imagine a global energy shortage that threatens the power required to keep a nation's hospitals and security systems running. A foreign tech giant offers to keep the lights on, but only if the leader surrenders total control over citizen data and speech. You either let the grid fail, or you lose your nation's interface sovereignty. A leader using duty-consequence logic identifies this offer as a coercive mechanism. They reject the tracks provided by the giant. This diagram illustrates the autonomous pillar strategy. The leader builds local, independent modular energy networks and indigenous data stacks. The immediate result of this choice is harsh. It creates economic friction and diplomatic tension in the short term. They accept a slower economy today to ensure the nation cannot be shut down by a foreign switch tomorrow. Then, in 2032, a new crisis emerges. A pathogen is detected in a manufacturing hub. Global authorities demand a total deactivation, a shutdown so strict it will cause local starvation. The global standard saves the world but kills the city's poorest. Refusing the shutdown saves the local economy but risks a global outbreak. A leader with the authority of their role recognizes the lockdown as a clumsy interface. They activate the sub-bureaucratic pulse, a network of local doctors and workers on the ground. They implement a micro-mesh isolation strategy, building by building. They use local food loops to ensure survival while containing the threat. By fulfilling their duty to both the city and the world, the leader generates a harvest of trust and resilience that no global mandate could ever produce. The trolley problem is popular because it allows for cold calculations, but it keeps us trapped in a hollow grid, choosing only between casualties. Efficiency loses its value the moment it requires the destruction of human integrity. Global interconnectedness becomes a trap when it removes a nation's sovereign agency. A functional operating system accounts for the human cost of every decision, anchoring every action in the soil. We must move away from teaching leaders how to pull the lever. We must teach them how to build a better brake system. A sovereign leader audits the architecture of the crisis and rebuilds the machine from the ground up. This is how we move from being victims of the tracks to becoming architects of the journey.